All right, this is the first time that I've tried recording myself using Google Glass, and the reason is I need to do an intro to Cat Chat 44, and this is going to be with Tammy Thies. She is the founder and executive director of the Wildcat Sanctuary in Sandstone, Minnesota. And I really wanted to go up and see Tammy in person, but it's snowing up there, and I'm not crazy about snow. But one of our volunteers, Catherine Quass, just recently went up there to help Tammy out a little bit during all of these freezing winter storms. And I asked her if she would be willing to video Tammy talking to us about the Wildcat Sanctuary and their mission there. Catherine did a great job, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. I've known Tammy Thies for a long time, and I think it's wonderful that sanctuaries will work together to help save as many animals as we possibly can. And one of the things that I admire most about Tammy is that she does speak up for the animals. I can't tell you how rare it is to find somebody in the sanctuary industry who's really trying to end the need for a sanctuary industry. But Tammy has been vocal in speaking out about legislation to protect the animals and her mission to educate people as to why hybrids don't make good pets and to keep the wild in our hearts but not our homes. So sit back and enjoy. I think this will be a great one for you. And check out the wildcatsanctuary.org later on. I'll put the URL in the show notes and at the end of the show. Thank you.
Okay, so Tammy, talk a little bit about the Wildcat Sanctuary. When you got started, how did you get started?
Well, I'm the founder of the Wildcat Sanctuary, and we incorporated in 1999. And my background was advertising, so I had done TV commercials for several different clients. And one day I was at a photo shoot and had tigers in the next studio. And of course, like everyone else, I was smitten by this little tiger cub, but had no idea that the captive wildlife crisis or any of the exotic animal issues actually were even existent in the United States. So it was the first thing that opened my eyes. And once I saw how this little tiger cub was treated and how it was living, I was really disheartened. And so it was kind of my turning point in life to be their advocate. And so I actually founded the Wildcat Sanctuary as an advocacy group. And about 15 years later, now we are an accredited sanctuary, and we're home to over 100 wildcats.
Okay, so what is the mission of the Wildcat Sanctuary, and what do you hope for the future of the sanctuary?
Our mission is to provide a natural sanctuary to wildcats in need and also inspire change to end the captive wildlife crisis. So much of our time is spent rescuing cats that have been privately owned or at defunct roadside zoos or in other substandard conditions. But we know we can't rescue ourselves out of this business. We get so many calls a month, and we just don't have enough donations. And I have a little office helper here. This is actually Homer, one of our elder office cats. But as I was talking about, we think domestic animals should be pets, dogs and cats like Homer here, not tigers, lions, bears, wolves. We have a campaign called No More Wild Pets, which we spend a lot of time advocating and inspiring people to keep the wild in their heart, not their home. So we really know that prevention is going to be the key to the success of No More Wild Pets. Now
Cooper's
we have
coming to
another
help.
office cat. This is Cooper. Cooper is actually a domestic Bengal cat, which is also one of 30 of our Bengal hybrids here at the Wildcat Sanctuary. Those Bengal hybrid cats are cats that are kind of caught between two worlds. They are a domestic cat crossed with a wild cat, such as an Asian leopard cat or African serval. And we see those, much like the wildcats, surrendered at an alarming rate because of territorial issues and health issues. So our mission is, even though to change laws for the big cats, it's also actually to advocate that the hybrid wildcats should no longer be bred as well.
Okay, so Tammy, tell us what a day in the life is like here at the Wildcat Sanctuary.
Well, we really try to provide as much natural habitat space as we can for our cats, but we have cats from several different species, including African servals, leopards to tigers, and so obviously living in Minnesota can be a challenge providing a natural habitat. So we actually give them as much free roaming space as possible. Enrichment is really key. We want to give them plenty of platforms, toys, different scents, smells, places to explore. And then because of the Minnesota winters, we also need to give them a warm place to cuddle up and be comfortable. So we have temperature controlled heated buildings. We have animals that have come from all walks of life. One of the cats we have here is a tiger named Sabrina. She was actually found in Texas after her owner had died and was left 10 days. And she was actually free roaming on the property and had no water, was in the dead of the heat. And she is definitely one of our most fractious tigers here at the property. She still has a hard time trusting humans, so we let her live as peacefully, as quietly as possible. We have other cats that are pretty social, that have had not such a bad life, but somebody decided that they could no longer handle them, that they were expecting their pet leopard or pet cougar to act as a dog or cat, and when they found out that wasn't the case, they've called us to surrender. So they come from all walks of life, but they have one thing in common, and that is that everybody is determined that they did not make a good pet and that they needed to surrender to a sanctuary. Sadly, we've heard the number that there's anywhere upward of 10,000 wild cats that are kept in pets in the United States. And you look at the sanctuary system has just over maybe 1,000 tigers. So there's quite a few still out there in squalor and not in appropriate places. And not only is it bad for the animal, but it causes a public safety risk for neighbors and the general public. And so that's where we're looking at the future of our sanctuary, is how do we actually get ahead of the problem versus just being a Band-Aid to it.
So Tammy, what do you think the solution is to the wildcat crisis?
I think in early years I was naive and thought if we educated people enough, education would be the solution. Unfortunately, I think people decide to act on impulse, and so education is key, but it's not the only component. Legislation is also key. And that is enforcement of legislation that would ban the breeding and private possession of big cats in the United States. We've been very busy with that over the past several years. This is Cooper. And not only in Minnesota were we successful in 2005 in getting our exotic animal law passed, but Iowa has since enacted a law that we helped with, and we are actually lobbying and supporting recent legislation of the Big Cat Public Safety Protection Act. Sorry, it's a little hard. I'm usually not interviewed with cats on my laps, but I'm usually not interviewed in the office where they've made themselves quite at home. So we know that a combination of education and legislation is needed so that we do not see any more tigers needing homes and sanctuaries.
Okay, so Tammy, how can people help?
The biggest thing they can help, not only our sanctuary, but accredited sanctuaries all over the country. Volunteer your time. I know all of the sanctuaries need volunteers to help with grounds work as well as office work. We ask, obviously, to support for donations. We are all nonprofits, and so we operate out of the kindness and goodness of people's hearts that want to see these animals have some peace and dignity before they pass on. We also make sure that people keep the wild in their heart, not their home, and adopt appropriate pets like Homer or a dog from a shelter and save a life versus adopting any wild or hybrid animal. So there's plenty of ways to get involved. We operate solely on donations. We do not receive any public or federal funding. So we do direct mail campaigns. We also have special events throughout the year. And we have different programs like Sponsor a Wild One, where people can actually sponsor a cat of their choice and learn a little bit more about their species and about their backstory and get updates through the year. So there's many ways to get involved. Another fun way is, since our sanctuary is actually closed to the public, we have a YouTube channel where you can see cats playing with different enrichment items, kind of how they live here at the sanctuary in their free roaming environments, how they've enjoyed Christmas and other holidays. And so that's been nice. There's different ways our YouTube channel to get involved. Our website has every single one of the residents we've rescued and their story, as well as photos. So we always invite people to go to our website at wildcatsanctuary.org to learn more. And we also want to reach out, as we always do, to our sister sanctuaries. There are so many good sanctuaries around the country doing great work. And so no matter what state you live in, you can find an accredited sanctuary near you to donate your time or your resources. We always ask people to make sure they do the research on the organizations before they actually fund or give their time. because you want to make sure that the organization does not buy animals, does not breed animals, does not sell or trade animals. You want to make sure you're becoming part of the solution and not supporting an organization that's part of the problem.
So Tammy, what's the intake process for cats, and how do you treat them if they have medical issues?
Well, it's interesting because we have to be very careful about the residents that come to us, and so we perform an intake examination. We have an on-site veterinary hospital at our facility, and during that we'll sedate the animal. We'll actually draw blood similar to you would with your dog or cat, what your vet would do, and we run blood profiles to ensure that their kidneys and organ function are all operating okay. We actually microchip the animal so that we have a definite record of the animal. We will spay and neuter the animal if the animal has not been spayed or neutered, and we'll do a full exam, and we'll actually do vaccinations. The problem is a lot of the animals that come to us aren't healthy because they've never seen a vet. So biggest concerns we see is one is dental disease because the animals haven't had proper diet or calcium, so we see a lot of broken teeth. Once or twice a year we have a foundation come out and actually perform root canals on all the cats that need it. And a bigger issue we see is that 70% of the cats that come to us, the wild cats, have been declawed on all 4 feet when they were cubs or kittens by their owners. And unfortunately that causes severe arthritis at an early age. So we have a lot of cats on glucosamine, pain medication, and anything we can to try and make their lives comfortable as they age. As with most sanctuaries, we have a high geriatric population. We're not getting a lot of tigers, lions, and cougars surrendered as cubs or cute kittens. They usually don't come to us until they've been older, mature, and they've caused some problems with their owners. And often they might have been sold 2 or 3 times before we actually hear about them. So as they come to us and they're older, we also see renal disease in cats, so we have to do a lot of electrolyte treatments and renal support to try and keep them happy and healthy. Common question I get asked all the time is, well, how long does a big cat live in captivity? And our oldest has been 26 years old. Her name was Mimi, a tiger. We now have a 24-year-old named Layla. But often we can see a cat live only 8 to 10 years old, depending upon how and what they were treated like growing up and if they got the proper nutrition. And if things all go well, they can live 24 years old, which is a wonderful thing for us to be able to give them a home, but it is a lifelong commitment and takes quite a bit of money to care for them. People always want to come help when you're rescuing an animal in deplorable conditions, but people don't always stay behind you for the next 20 years that you have to house that animal. So every time we take in an animal, we have to think of, can we afford to care for this animal and give them the proper environment for 20 plus years?
So I think you can see why I love Tammy Thies, and I really appreciate that Tammy and Catherine and Homer and Cooper all came to you today to share a little bit about Wildcat Sanctuary. I hope you'll check out their page at wildcatsanctuary.org and check out those videos. They just did a really cute one called the Academy Awards that I think you'll really enjoy. This has been Cat Chat 44. I'm Carol Baskin, founder and CEO of Big Cat Rescue. Thanks for joining us. See you next week.